This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
I don't even know what we're voting on.
I've got a wedding to get to, and I hope I get home in time.
Cornell becomes the fourth Ivy League university to reach such an agreement.
Trying to get into girls' bathrooms.
Would ban kids under the age of 15 from using certain social media platforms.
Let's consult the 2026 Farmers Almanac.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Olive Branch. A few minutes ago, a proposal was made that could potentially end the government shutdown. Senator Chuck Schumer unveiled a Democratic counterproposal, a one-year extension of expiring Obamacare subsidies, and the creation of a committee to come up with a new plan for health care in exchange for the end of the shutdown.
Leader Thune just needs to add a clean one-year extension of the ACA tax credits.
Senator John Thune responding.
It's all about leverage. That's what they're making it all about.
It's not looking good. Funding Obamacare is a tall stack. Republican Senator John Kennedy says he still believes any government shutdown deal is a long ways off.
I think we're at least 7 days and more likely 10 and very possibly 2 weeks away from opening up at the best. I don't even know what we're voting on.
40 airports across the country cut hundreds of flights today as ordered by the FAA to weather staff shortages because of the shutdown. CBS's Neil Augenstein.
Most of the passengers here at DCA have heard from their airlines about possible delays and cancellations.
Well, they sent me out a few emails indicating that there's a possibility.
This passenger got here early for his flight to Orlando. He does a lot of traveling for work.
So that could also affect our business.
This traveler says he is concerned.
I've got a wedding to get to, and I hope I get home in time.
The Trump administration says they may order the cancellation of 20% of flights if it's needed for safety. Cornell University of Ithaca just reached a $60 million deal with the Trump administration. That story from Family Life's Mark Webster.
Yeah, Cornell becomes the fourth Ivy League university to reach such an agreement. In it, Cornell agrees to pay $30 million to the federal government and invest an additional $30 million in research on farming. This in exchange for the Trump administration closing federal investigations and restoring the university's research funding, which has been frozen for months. Cornell's president says the deal, quote, explicitly recognizes Cornell's right to independently establish policies and procedures, choose whom to hire and admit, and determine what we teach without intrusive government monitoring. A White House spokesperson says the deal shows Trump's continuing to restore, quote, academic excellence, merit, and accountability. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Kathy Hochul has a challenger. New York Representative Elise Stefanik has announced her run for governor. The Republican Congresswoman released a pre-recorded narrated video on social media to announce her campaign. Stefanik has been a fierce ally of President Trump and a forceful opponent against both current Governor Hochul and New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Colder temperatures and even some snow could be felt by millions next week. It's due to an area of low pressure that's forecast to move down from Canada and impact New York and Pennsylvania starting on Sunday. Those in the Dakotas and Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and even South Carolina could wake up to wind chills in the single digits and teens. Kevin has details in a moment. A school board on Long Island has filed a federal lawsuit against the New York State Department of Education. This follows an ACLU suit against Massapequa that alleged the district's policy requiring students to use bathrooms and locker rooms consistent with their biological sex violated the rights of a transgender student. This district parent weighs in on the dispute.
One transgender child that is trying to get into girls' bathrooms, even though the school district accommodated that person and gave them their own bathroom. The school is standing up to the girls who don't want this.
In late October, State Education Commissioner Betty Rosa barred the Massapequa board from implementing its new gender policy. And another country wants its children off social media. Denmark. CBS's Jane Clark.
The Danish government announced a plan today which would ban kids under the age of 15 from using certain social media platforms, although they did not say which ones or how they'd enforce the ban. Parents would be able to grant access for their children, but they'd have to take an assessment first. Australia made a similar move last year, becoming the first country in the world to ban social media for kids.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, details on the Zohran Mamdani win, and 66% of Democrats think socialism is an acceptable alternative to capitalism. Those stories next, after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. For tonight, cloudy skies, rains diminishing to scattered showers, gusty breezes subside, low temps around 40. Tomorrow, chance of a morning shower, otherwise stubborn clouds, a few breaks of sun, high temps mid-40s to the mid-50s. Then on Sunday, cloudy, colder, we'll have rain. Temperatures will peak near 60 in eastern Pennsylvania, but drop to the freeze point in far western New York, where rain will turn abruptly to snow by day's end.
Thank you, Kevin. It is Friday, and that means we check in with our Capital Connection crew, Jason McGuire with New York Families and Michael Gear with PA Family, and our own Bob Price with a deep dive on the issues in Albany and Harrisburg. Let's listen in.
I want to begin with that big mayoral contest in New York City. How does a guy with Zohran Mamdani's credentials get to be the mayor of New York City? And a follow-up to that is, what does that portend when it comes to the 2026 midterms?
Well, ideological differences aside, let me speak to the strengths of the Zohran Mamdani campaign. For one, he energized many new voters. Over 2 million people turned out to vote in this election. That is a number that New York City had not seen since 1969. So he brought people into this race that were not voting. He's bringing a new generation in. He always smiled. He carried himself with optimism and hope. And unfortunately, I think we live in a day today in which people will choose rhetoric over results. Much of what he has said he can accomplish in his term, he will not be able to do, at least not to the level that he sold during the campaign. But people heard the rhetoric, and they opted for that over the results.
Yeah.
So that's how we get socialism in New York City.
Yeah. There was a poll out recently, Jay, a quick follow-up, and then we'll go to Michael. 66% of Democrats think socialism is a perfectly acceptable alternative to capitalism. Will this message of socialism catch on?
Well, I think it obviously already is. I mean, we're seeing it in the trends. We're seeing it among young people today. And there are some real concerns there. When we talk about affordability, the ability to buy a home, the American dream, in many ways does seem to be slipping away from a younger generation as they watch inflation, as they watch so many things with student debt and other issues that the new Democrats are speaking to. Yeah. And that is having an effect on those younger voters.
Yeah, Michael, I know you're upset about the retention elections with those 3 liberal Supreme Court justices. An uphill battle all the way. Maybe the margin of victory is what's disappointing people who wanted to see those judges tossed. It looks like at about a 2-1 margin, they will keep their jobs. Your thoughts overall on the big vote there Tuesday night?
Well, as you mentioned, as significant as the implications were in this retention vote on issues like abortion, redistricting, and election integrity, a no vote on a Supreme Court retention election, a successful no vote, has only happened once in Pennsylvania history. So it was a tall order in the first place. But the second thing is big money came into the race late in the game with a reported more than $20 million being spent on the race, most of it from Democrats on the yes side. Planned Parenthood weighed in with their money and their endorsement. Lastly, there's the low voter turnout in these odd-year elections, but more turnout in the big cities because of the mayoral races and DA races, which also benefited the Democrat justices in their retention vote.
Yeah, so much of what you fight for, Michael, is parental rights and education. The school board votes, I know there's a lot of them, but overall, when you look across the Commonwealth, were you satisfied with those votes on Tuesday?
Well, I guess I would say some good, some bad. There are 500 school districts in the Commonwealth, so it's hard to sum it up simply across the board. In the races that we were watching closely, we were pleased for the most part with many of the results. But given that on Election Day, many public schools, especially in the major metro areas, were closed for the day, teachers and school employees had the day off, and the teachers union virtually always backed the leftist candidates. So it can be tough in certain areas for sensible conservatives to get their message and the voters out on their behalf.
Jason, was this a referendum on the Trump presidency? I know his approval rating is underwater, and especially you look at those results out of New Jersey, not so much Virginia, because I think a lot of folks were expecting that one, but the margin of victory in New Jersey was telling. How much did Trump fatigue have on this race?
I think there certainly was some impact with the Trump fatigue, as you call it, was in his last election results. But I'll go further than that. I think it is more the fact that President Trump was not on the ballot that failed to energize Republican voters. So while the Trump fatigue may have energized Democrat voters and some independents, the fact that President Trump was not on the ballot meant that many Republicans simply did not show up. I've knocked on doors collecting petitions where people refuse to sign petition signatures for any other candidate than President Trump, indicating they will not vote for anyone but President Trump. And I think that is a problem that the Republican Party is going to have to reckon with in the years to come.
Yeah. Michael, when you look at it, what are the lessons learned for Republicans following what can only be described as a stinging defeat Tuesday night?
Yeah, it was challenging across the state when we look at especially municipal elections, even in my own area, which has been historically Republican, swinging very heavily into the Democrat side of things. The lessons learned are, number one, elections swing back and forth very significantly, and so we can't really even, I think today, predict what 2026 is going to look out. There's a lot of water that's going to have to go over the dam, as it were, in the next year to see what happens. But I think some of the issues that Jason talked about in terms of affordability, the fact that government spending has not been really reduced in any significant way creates this inflation, which creates the affordability problems, and those are some of the big challenges that I think both parties are going to have to deal with to figure out how to restore the American dream.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Capital Connection and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
There are two kinds of people, those prepared for financial setbacks and those who aren't. Hi, I'm Rob West with the Faith and Finance Minute. The difference often comes down to having an emergency fund. This is money intentionally set aside in a savings account for life's unplanned expenses, things that fall outside your budget or completely overwhelm it. Without an emergency fund, debt usually becomes the only option. A broken car, a leaking roof, or a failed water heater can quickly send you running to a credit card with high interest. Don't let that happen. Start by saving $1,500. Then keep building until you've set aside 3 to 6 months of living expenses. When you're prepared, you can weather job loss or unexpected bills with confidence, trusting God as your ultimate provider. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, it is the end of an era for weather forecasting. That story after our weather and a 25-degree change in the temperature.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, no sooner will we rid ourselves of the current rain and windmaker than another one will approach on Sunday. This one, though, looks stronger, juicier, and ultimately colder. Could spell some winter issues as we head from late weekend into early next week. First of all, a call for tonight: cloudy skies, rains diminishing to scattered showers, gusty breezes subside, low temps around 40. Tomorrow, chance of a morning shower, otherwise stubborn clouds, a few breaks of sun, especially central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temps mid-40s to the mid-50s for most. Then on Sunday, cloudy, turning colder, and we'll have rain. Temperatures will peak near 60 in eastern Pennsylvania, but drop to the freeze point in far western New York, where rain will turn abruptly to snow by day's end. Then flurries and snow showers early next week with the potential for some locally heavier lake snow, particularly in northwestern Pennsylvania.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, it has been guiding farmers and plain folks for more than 200 years.
Let's consult the 2026 Farmers Almanac Extended Winter Weather Forecast.
The Almanac has announced it's shutting down operations. CBS's Peter King.
As recently as 2017, the company reported more than 2 million copies sold. The Farmers Almanac's publisher says it's ending its long run because of financial challenges of producing and distributing the book. outlook in a chaotic media environment.
And that's the world that we live in for Friday, the 7th of November. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.